Welcome to Overfishing with Isabel and Nick. Okay, so we are going to talk about what every world citizen needs to know about the causes, impacts, and possible solutions to overfishing. So the main causes of overfishing are growing global demand. As the population of the world increases, demand for fish will also increase. Unsustainable fishing methods, illegal and unregulated fishing, and poor fishery management. The impact of this is that many essential predators are removed from the oceans. There's poor coral reef health. The growth of algae is increased, which when algae is unregulated, it is no longer safe for the oceans. There are unintended catches when you have more fishing or overfishing, so animals like sea turtles and dolphins are caught unintentionally. There's a threat to local food sources as there's a shortage of fish, and there are financial losses for local businesses around fishing areas. So finally, what are some possible solutions? We can, one, work with governments. With the lack of regulations and specific policies that currently exist, working with governments is a good way to crack down on overfishing. We can also help developing countries where overfishing is really common. We can encourage responsible farming of fishing. We can make it mandatory that all fish have labels for consumers so they know where their fish is coming from and how it was caught. We can increase the number of marine protected areas, and then also probably the most impactful is we can reduce subsidies. So that would mean raising the costs of the fishing industry, because when they are lowered, it incentivizes fishermen to overexpand and overfish. Okay, so now we're going to talk about how overfishing is different depending on where on the planet you live. So let's begin with Asia and North America. So Japan, China, the US, South Korea, Taiwan, and Indonesia are called the Pacific Six because they are responsible for 80% of the tuna catches in the Pacific Ocean. Much of the overfishing and destructive fishing in Southeast Asia is attributable to illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing. And 69% of those fishery resource bases are at a medium to high risk due to overfishing. So of these areas, Cambodia and Philippines are the most heavily affected. Next, we move on to Europe. The Mediterranean Sea is the most overfished in the world, with 62% of its fish stocks now overfished and at a serious and real risk of being depleted. That is huge, 62%. So how is this problem related to what has happened in the past? Well, overfishing is related to deforestation in Brazil during the 1960s. At the time, Brazil was chopping down trees at a really increased rate due to growing demand and population growth. So as a consequence, 18% of the Amazon rainforest's original forest today is gone, and this amount is comparable in size to France. In addition to this, like overfishing, deforestation in the Amazon destroyed habitats and harmed species. It's estimated that between 4,000 and 6,000 species are lost every year in the Amazon due to deforestation. Okay, so thanks for hanging with me. Here's Nick.
Hey, it's Nick. Let's talk overfishing. Overfishing isn't good, let's just not do it. Facts and statistics, here we go. Over just 40 years, there has been a decrease in marine species of about 40%. So if this was our population of fish 40 years ago, about that many would be left today. Fish stocks are subpopulations of a particular species of fish. So in the Mediterranean Sea and the Black Sea, there was sufficient data for 85 fish stocks, which of those, 75 were overfished, which is about 88%. So here I have 10 different fish stocks. If we were to take that same ratio, we would get rid of about all except for one. 10 to 12% of the world's population depends on the fishing industry, But that industry uses really messed up practices when actually catching the fish. So when they go out to catch fish, about 25% of what they captured, they end up throwing overboard dead because they didn't mean to catch it.
So what are some principal barriers that are holding us back?
China and Europe fleets are increasing, and one of the biggest problems is the technique used to commercial fish. This is known as bottom trawling. This involves trawling nets along the seabed to catch cod, hadcock, plaice, and sole. However, it also catches many other byproduct fish, and they then get thrown overboard, dead.
Another barrier, and the last one I'll talk about we have to overcome, is frugality. Overfishing keeps fish prices really low, so we have to be willing to pay more for the same amount. Final thoughts. So me and Belle are both of the opinion that overfishing is not good. It's not good for really anyone except the economy. It's bad for the environment. It's bad for the fishes. It's bad. It's just bad. But it's hard to put regulations and find new techniques and everything when people's livelihoods are on the line and their culture. It's hard to regulate that. You can't put restrictions on the way people live their lives. You just can't. But we are not that optimistic, not because of that, because humans can overcome that type of thing. But the economy is what drives the world right now, and overfishing stimulates the economy, and honestly that's the most important thing in today's society. So we're not too optimistic.